So it's been a minute. Actually, it's been months since I have created a video for this channel, and it's not because I haven't been looking for comics to buy or anything like that. In fact, I've continued to buy comics on New Comic Book Day. I've just been super busy with life in general. We had a really busy springtime with me coaching my son's soccer team, and then just summertime crept up, and there's just so many other things going on in this time of my life. Now, like I said, I've been going to New Comic Book Day and picking up books here and there, but I've also been scouring my usual hunting grounds, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, so on and so forth, looking for comic book collections to pick up. Now, I've had a couple times where, things were advertised as a good collection and just didn't turn out to be either a good collection or something I was interested in. But that all changed a couple weeks ago when I saw an ad online for an estate sale that listed a large comic book collection. So I did about as much investigating as I could with the pictures that were available online and decided to go ahead and take the Thursday off that was going to be the first day of the sale so that I could get there early and see what was inside this collection. All right, so that's some of the backstory to this collection pickup. I'm going to go over some more of that as we go on through the video, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of the bulk books that I picked up. Okay, so like I mentioned, this is pretty much the bulk of the pickup here. This is about 1,000 books or so in these 3 long boxes, plus I've got a couple short boxes with some comics as well. And I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly. We're not going to look at every book here, but I just kind of want to show you some of what was in this collection and what made me pick it up. And we'll kind of go over the story of this collection in general. Now, I'm just going to start off here. I've already sorted out pretty much all of this collection. A lot of 80s and 90s books you'll see here. Just some, 200s Avengers covers and books. So a decent amount of Avengers here. I think I've pulled out most of the keys for the most part, but you know what? There's a lot of books here in this collection. I may have missed something. I'm not an expert by any means, especially when it comes to the DC stuff that's further on here. But yeah, so this collection, like I said, I found it online at an estate sale. Decided to go and take a look, and I'm actually going to do this kind of in reverse order. So I picked up all of these comics that we're going to see here first on the last day of the sale. This sale went from a Thursday through a Sunday. They were actually just gonna go Thursday through Saturday, but when I was there on Thursday, the first time buying some books, the guy running the sale indicated that they might actually go all the way through Sunday, just kind of depending on how things were shaping up. All right, now where were we? All right, so yeah, like I mentioned, they were just gonna go through Saturday, but he said Sunday might be an option, and if so, it'd probably be close to 75% off on those days. You can see here, there were some New Mutants books. Let's go back a little bit. I didn't end up with very many of them. And the first day, I was definitely looking for New Mutants 87 and 98. Neither of those were in this collection. So that kind of gives you an idea. Maybe this had been picked through. But as we get further on in the video, you'll see that that wasn't the case at all with this collection. So these are actually the books that I picked up on Sunday, and I just went ahead and made the trip over to the sale first thing so that I could try and make an offer on the whole collection. Because I had talked to the guy the first day, like I said, and tried to make an offer then, but he really wanted to let other people have a chance to look at the collection and just pick up some books, which I can appreciate, right? So I came back Sunday morning hoping to be able to make a deal at that point in time, and he was still not willing to negotiate a lower price on these books. Now, speaking of price, what did I pay for all of these books? Well, I'm gonna hold on to that for a minute. His original pricing on Thursday was $4 per comic unless marked. Well, none of the comics were marked, so everything was $4 a comic, which is way more than I would typically spend, especially on books like these. But you'll see the stuff later on that I was happy to spend $4 on total, or individually, on the first day. But yeah, I went back first thing Sunday morning when things would be 75% off. So these would be dollar books. And I did pick up 10 books. I think I picked up just a small run of Sensational She-Hulk And, you know, I was happy to get those, but he still was not willing to negotiate on the price for a, you know, a buyout of whatever was left. So he said to give him a call around 1 o'clock because they would be closing it at 3, and that'd, you know, kind of give him enough time to figure out a price that he would be happy with based on what was left over in the collection. And so I said that was fine. So I took my kids to the neighborhood pool, we swam, I gave him a call at 1, and he said, yeah, come on down, let's make a deal. So I rushed back to the house, made the drive down to this sale, and yeah, I looked through the books. He wanted me to come up with a price that I was happy to pay or wanted to pay for the collection. So what I did, I wasn't gonna count them all out because there was still a ton of books left. And I'm actually gonna show you some pictures of what the collection looked like online so that you can kind of see why I chose to take a look at this collection and just see how many books were there and how it was laid out. But I went down and just made a pile of 50 comics and then estimated additional piles of 50 just to kind of get an idea of how many were there. And I came up with about 900 remaining comics in the collection. And I was thinking I was gonna pay like, what was my price I wanted to pay? I wanted to pay a quarter each, which I think was gonna be like, what, 200 and whatever, 250, 260 bucks, something like that. I don't remember. Someone check my math in the comments. But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna just offer 200 for the rest of it because this guy wanted to get it out of there. It was a hot day. You know, nobody wants to move 3 or like 900 comics, especially when they're not into comics. This was just gonna be extra work for him. So made the offer of $200 for the rest of the collection, and he said yes. So I picked up the rest of this bulk here, or what I consider to be bulk, right? Like I mentioned, could be books in here that are minor keys, things that I don't recognize, especially in this DC section here. A bunch of this Firestorm Nuclear Man here, quite a bit of it anyways. So yeah, I picked up essentially 900 comics for $200. So I thought that was a pretty good deal here. As you can see, most of these books, actually all the books in this center box here, are still in the original bags that were on them when I looked at the collection. So a bunch of just old polypropylene bags. So they're like yellowed and gross. My fingers just feel gross just looking through these again. I haven't had a chance to swap all of these out yet. But everything else, for the most part, has been swapped over to new bags and boards. I'm waiting on a case of new bags and boards from BCW to show up from FedEx. They were actually supposed to show up today. FedEx is late on that shipment, but I have 1,000 bags and boards coming in to do the rest of the collection and then some other stuff that I need to get rebagged and boarded. So yeah, if you're looking for some bags and boards, shameless plug here, use my code collecting casually on BCW's website and you can get 10% off of your order. Orders over $100 get free shipping, and it does help me out. I do get a small commission if you go ahead and buy something and use my code. I get a little kickback. I think it's like 5% or something like that. Some of you have been using it though. It really does help. I was able to buy all of these bags and boards with proceeds from folks using my code, which is really appreciated. So again, code collecting casually over on BCW's website. You can check those bags and boards out there. That's everything that I use now on. I just love their quality, consistency and sizing, things like that. But anyways, let's get back to this collection, and I'm gonna drop this camera just a bit again. There we go. Now, something I thought was kind of interesting, and someone helped me out, you guys in the chat, let me know. A couple of these comics came in bags, this is polypropylene, but it's like sealed. It's not your standard bag and board. So I've never seen comics sold, you know, other than like something like one of these Executioner's Song comics, right? These came in a bag because they had a trading card with it, right? So that makes sense to have a sealed bag on it. Obviously, we've seen other things, Death of Superman, so on and so forth. But I've never really seen like older comics in a sealed style bag like this, right? There's no flap. I've looked all over the place for it. I've just never come across this. Obviously, I was not collecting comics when this came out back in the day. But I'm just curious if that was standard and it was common to find comics in like a sealed style bag here, like this one as well, this Defenders 103. I just thought it was kind of interesting. I left a couple of them in the bags like this. Just thought it was kind of interesting, hoping someone in the comments could help out with an answer there. But yeah, so we've got, like I mentioned, tons of 80s and 90s books, just a lot of bronze in this collection, bronze and copper type stuff. Bunch of Defenders here. Bunch of just random Marvel titles as well. Things like that Cyforce. Let's go up just a bit here. Get this book out of the way. Yeah, so we've got some Cyforce and lots of runs, you know, just short runs, but there's also some longer runs in here as well that I'll talk about. A couple Daredevil books here in the collection, some Spider-Woman, some New Universe DP7. And again, I've already rebagged and boarded most of this collection. But I did use some of the bags and boards. You'll see here there's some like dingier bags and boards in the back. They were in good enough shape. Most of this bulk, actually all of this bulk that I'm showing you, is going to go out to my booth at the antique mall that I have a booth at. And that's where these will be sold. So, you know, again, I'm one of those people that likes to buy collections like this, keep the stuff that I want for my personal collection, and then sell the rest to fund that process over and over again. And it's been working out pretty well so far. So we got some Iron Man here, some Machine Man in here. Marvel's Greatest. There's some timely Fantastic Four, since that movie just came out last weekend. We got some Marvel 2-in-1 here with Thing. There's a little bit of ROM. Ooh, there's a Secret Wars 2. This is the only Secret Wars 2 book I got. Spoiler alert, I've got a bunch of the first series of Secret Wars, which we'll look at a little bit later. Some Starbrand. Let's see here, some Thing. What If. A Wolverine. Some Exterminators here. Just some, you know, mini series of random titles. Just a bunch of random stuff here. Oops, the Defenders, it got out of order. Kind of a cool cover there for Defenders 100. Like that. And then we've got some X-Men. And as I was looking at the collection on the first day of this sale, I was the fourth person in line, but really the first person to be there to look for comics, which is great. You know, I got into the house, immediately asked the people at the front desk, hey, I saw you had comics listed. Where are those located? It looked like it was probably in the basement, and that turned out to be correct. They said, yep, in the basement, the only bedroom down there, that's where they're at. And as I was kind of asking that question, the guy second in line said the same thing. He's like, oh yeah, comics, where are those at? So I thought, oh shoot, this guy's gonna get ahead of me and get first dibs on this. Well, he did go down there and beat me to it, but there was actually a big enough space that multiple people could be looking at the collection at once. And so I just started on the left side, which was closer to the door of the room. He went further into the room and was looking kind of at the shelves to the right, which is where all these X-Men books were. And so I just kind of started on the left. But that guy, really, I think he must have been looking for something very specific, or older books is kind of what I'm guessing, because like I've mentioned, everything here was like bronze and copper type books. I think he was probably looking for Silver Age, which there was not really any silver in this collection. So he hopped out of there after about a minute, and I had the whole collection to myself for about 5 to 10 minutes until another guy showed up and took the spot to the right and started looking through X-Men. And I started chatting with him, you know, just saying, hey, you know, I didn't recognize this guy in town. There's a pretty decent sized community here, but I know a lot of the folks, and I didn't recognize this guy, so I was just trying to introduce myself, ask him, you know, if he's looking for anything in particular, you know, what's he collect, just, you know, small chat. And he was really said he was, you know, getting back into the hobby, wanted to pick up some books or look for stuff that he had back in the day that got rid of. And so, you know, we just kind of chatted as we were going. And yeah, just really had a nice conversation with him. We were showing each other some cool books that we were finding, but I think he probably found some really cool books in the X-Men section. I'll talk about what I think he probably found.
later on in the video when we get to some of the higher end books, spoiler alert, that I found in this collection. So again, yeah, picked up a pretty good sized chunk of Uncanny X-Men. Got a big chunk here. And then we got, some of the annuals, so on and so forth. And then we've got some of the 91 series, that great Jim Lee art there. Keep going here. Got some more of those Executioner song stories with the cards. More X-Men in the series. So, and a lot of these books there were multiple copies of as well, which is nice, right? These sell pretty well at my booth. So having refillers for people to fill in their collections is always nice for me. And I love just picking up multiple copies of books so I can refill the gaps at the booth for other people to pick them up. So yeah, X-Men almost all the way to the end here, I think. Got some annuals, a couple miniseries again, Alpha Flight and the X-Men, X-Men and the Micronauts, some X-Men Adventures, some 2099s, and I think, yeah, some X-Men Unlimited 1 and 2 here. So, or I'm sorry, 1 and 3. So let's get on to the next box here. All right, and then we've got just a ton of X-Force and X-Factor in this box. I think that might be all that's in here, if I remember correctly. Got to get these all taped over. But yeah, just a lot of X-Force and X-Factor. I don't think there was an X-Factor 1. I don't remember picking it up, and I'm pretty sure it's not in the other section of books that we're going to take a look at, but a bunch of X-Factor. Not a complete run, but quite a bit of the series from number 2 all the way back. Let's see here. How far are we going? Still an X-Factor, still an X-Factor, still an X-Factor, still... I think we got all the way through 100, if I'm not mistaken. 96, 98, 99. And then we got some annuals here. More annuals. And then we got some Alpha Flight. This again starts a section where I haven't bagged and boarded, but this is a whole section of Alpha Flight. We've got some more Avengers, it looks like here. That's it for this box. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other short boxes I've got. All right, so these are the final 2 boxes of bulk that we'll just flip through real quick. This is just a really long run of Power Pack here. Just a ton of issues. And one thing about this collection is these books were in really great shape. Like, they were just on these shelves that I showed you, and I'm surprised at how good of shape these books were in, Yeah, they were in bags, most of them not boarded though. They were just, in the polypropylene bags and had been sitting there for who knows how long, right? I don't know if the estate sale company took them out of long boxes and short boxes, but either way, yeah, I think we got the final issue here of Power Pack. This is almost a complete run of Power Pack, so anybody's looking for that, let me know. Anyways, yeah, and then here's where we start our Alpha Flight run with number 2. Didn't find an Alpha Flight 1, but again, this is a really long run in the collection as well of Alpha Flight. Just a really high quality collection here. Well, I shouldn't say none. A lot of this collection was just in amazing shape. A few damaged books here and there, but nothing that, was real torn up or anything. So yeah, just a bunch of Alpha Flight here, and I think it's Alpha Flight all through the back. Yep. So that's everything there that's been bagged and boarded for Power Pack and Alpha Flight. And then this box here is kind of some stuff that I consider bulk, but I think I'm actually gonna keep in my collection. Just Cloak and Dagger number 2, 3, 4. This cool Defenders cover, just love kind of this homage, obviously to X-Men. On the front here, just a great copy there of 119. Probably keep that. I do collect Spider-Woman, and I realized when I was flipping through earlier that one of them was in the other box, so I need to get it out. But I did pick up these Spider-Woman books on that second go-around on Sunday. And then a bunch of these Marvel Universe books, just kind of going over Yeah, it's the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. Letter A here. The next one up is B through C. So just kind of gives a history and overview of I shouldn't say all of, most of the superheroes and villains and characters in each one of these. I've got quite a few of these already in my collection, but some I don't have, and these will fill in gaps. And then this is another version of it, you know, Book of the Dead and inactive, so just like characters that have died or are no longer in the storyline, so on and so forth. So I really liked those. A bunch of these Marvel Universe, like I mentioned. Some deluxe editions here going on. And then we also get, some updates. And then there's some Marvel Age as well in the collection here. Just some really cool covers here. Also, I like what they do in these books. And then there was like a kind of current one, 93, or just this photo cover feels more current than some of the others. And then I love this Marvel Age annual. Just awesome cover here. I believe that's Art Adams, but I could be wrong. Anyhow, that's the bulk of the collection. Let's go ahead and look at what I actually picked up on the first day.
All right, so these are the first 100 books or so that I picked up at the sale. And these are just going to be keys, iconic covers, personal favorites, things like that. So here we've got Avengers 267, the first Council of Kings. Avengers Annual number 10, the first appearance of Rogue and Madeline Pryor. And again, not everything in here is a major key by any means. It was just books that I either wanted for my collection or just thought were cool and decided to pick up on this first day. Now here we move on to a nice run of Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars. This is a nice 12-issue limited series, and there are multiple copies of many of these books at this estate sale.
All right, now I know what you're thinking. Was it gonna be here or not? Yes, Secret Wars number 8. This is the first big book that I found in the collection, and it was right in line with the rest of the Secret Wars books that I had been flipping through. I was so happy to find this comic, and it is in great shape. It just looks really, really nice here. I am definitely considering sending this one in for grading. Oh, and by the way, yep, there was a second copy. Like, it's amazing. As you saw, earlier in the collection in the bulk, and then some of the other things you'll see here, there were multiple copies of many books, and these are just in great shape, both of them. Really nice corners on both of them, really nice color, just really nice quality overall. Certainly some things that can press out, in my opinion, but really happy with the quality of these two copies of Secret Wars 8. And really, for me, this just made my day and made the collection worth it. Even if like the value that I paid for everything doesn't add up on that first day, which I think it's going to anyways. Actually, I know it does. But yeah, those are like cream of the crop for me for this collection for the most part. But let's continue on.
Now, I am a fan of Sensational She-Hulk, and of course I had to pick up the awesome #1, plus a bunch of other issues in this series. I have most of these already, but these are actually in really nice shape and will probably replace some of those that are in my personal collection now. I also picked up a couple DC Who's Who. This first one has some artwork by Dave Stevens, a nice Catwoman image here, and then this other one is a dolphin image also by Dave Stevens. I pick those up anytime I see them. Here we have X Factor 6 First Apocalypse, and then we also have X Factor 19, the first cover appearance here of Horsemen of Apocalypse. Now moving on to X-Men, we have number 56, awesome Neil Adams cover and the origin of Angel. Up next, big key issue here, first appearance of Sauron. Next up, we have 106, first appearance of Entity, the dark side of Professor X. Here we have 107, the first full team appearance of the Starjammers. Number 112 here, awesome George Perez cover. Then we have issue 114. This is the first time the word Uncanny appears above the X-Men title, and this one just happens to be a Pence variant. Not sure how that one ended up in this collection. .117's an issue with the first appearance of Shadow King, and Professor X talks about his first encounter with Storm. 118 features Wolverine's deceased fiancée Mariko Yashida. Issue 120 features the first cameo team appearance of Alpha Flight. The next issue, 121, is the full first team appearance of Alpha Flight. 122 gives us the story of the origin of Colossus. .124 features the first appearance of Colossus as the Proletarian. Issue 126 is the first full appearance of Proteus. No issue 130 for the first appearance of Dazzler, but we do have 131, which is the second appearance of Dazzler and the first cover appearance of Emma Frost, the White Queen. Issue 211 features that awesome 25th anniversary border. .213 has our first cameo appearance of Mr. Sinister. .239 is the first cover and the second appearance of Mr. Sinister. Plus, we have the first cover appearance and mention of Madeline Pryor as the Goblin Queen. .241 gives us the origin of Madeline Pryor as the Goblin Queen. In issue 244, we have our first appearance of Jubilee. And issue 248 marks the first time that Jim Lee did any work on the X-Men title. 282 is often referred to as the first appearance of Bishop. X-Men number 53 from Volume 2 is the first appearance of Onslaught, a creation born from the minds of Charles Xavier and Magneto. And then just a few more of these awesome 25th anniversary covers to wrap things up. All right, editing Ryan here. I totally blanked on talking about pricing exactly how I wanted to. So let's just go over pricing in general here. So first up, day number 1, pricing for all the comics was $4 per comic unless otherwise priced. Nothing in there was priced otherwise, so everything was $4 a piece. So day number 1, I ended up picking up 100 comics and paying $400 for them. That included, the 2 Secret Wars number 8s and everything that was in that non-bulk section of the video we just watched. And, it was just everything that we went through there. All 100 of those books were $4 a piece. And I was more than happy paying up front a higher cost than I would typically pay at an estate sale or garage sale or just in a bulk collection buy, because these were books that were well over the value of $4, obviously. But what I really wanted to do was make sure I got what I wanted and then kind of set a relationship up with the seller to potentially buy the rest of the collection, and let them know that I'm serious. I'm willing to put down $400 on these books here, which obviously I got a great deal on, but I'm also willing to put money down on the remainder once the sale has essentially ended. So $400 for 100 books. I can't complain about that. All right, so as far as the bulk lot goes, 900 books about is what we came up with on the count there. At $200, that's 22 cents a piece, which is great. I'm always happy to buy books at a quarter or less, especially on a big buy like this. All right, so as far as cost for the whole collection, I paid $400 on day 1, then $200 on day 4 for about 1,000 books, plus or minus, pretty much average. So I have an average book cost of 60 cents each, which is still great, right? I'm always happy to pay 50 cents, 60 cents, when I'm buying a big collection, especially when it has these types of keys in it. Now, as far as the books that I think the other guy may have gotten out of this collection, he went to the right of me when I was on that first rack of books. I was flipping through like the New Mutants section. There was some Fantastic Four, just a bunch of other stuff. And really, they were kind of in piles where you didn't know if they were congruent or not. And I just happened to go to the left when I got there because the guy second in line went over to the other shelf. So this other guy came in, went to the right of me, and was looking through the X-Men books. We struck up that conversation. So, my guess is some books that weren't there that I thought might have been there, afterwards that he probably picked up. 266 first Gambit, 130 your first Dazzler appearance, 135, possibly a 95 or 94, which would have been just amazing pickups for him. There's a lot of books in that, low 100s X-Men run that are worth some great money that he probably came out with, because when I was checking out, the folks there said, hey, the guy ahead of you, he bought like 100, or no, he bought like 80 books or something, I think it was, because I beat him by just a little bit. So who knows what he got out of his stack there, but I'm sure he got some amazing scores. I know he did have an amazing Spider-Man 252, kind of the partner to the Secret Wars 8s that I picked up. He only had one copy of it, and there was really not any Amazing Spider-Man at all in this collection. I had like 1, maybe 2 in there that I picked up, but to realize that he had a 252 in his stack was pretty cool. I don't know, whether I wish I would have started on the right side as opposed to the left. I don't know. It really doesn't matter. I got an amazing score here with this collection, and I'm just happy in general to have picked it up. All right, so there you have it. That is my latest collection pick up of the year. It's really only the second one of 2025. Hopefully I can jam a couple more in the rest of the year, but let me know what you thought of this collection pickup. I think it was great. I'm really happy with the price that I paid and the books that I got out of it. Let me know what your favorite book was, you know, if you were surprised by anything that was in this collection, and let me know what you thought about the price that I paid. All right, hopefully it isn't a few more months before you see me back here on YouTube, and hopefully I can get back into the grind of creating some more videos for you. But as always, I appreciate everybody watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can catch new content when it's released. And until next time, we'll see you in the next video.